Did you know that I stopped drinking coffee like a year and a half ago? Insane, I know. It was such a staple of my diet, of my day, of my routine. I mean, you wake up and you make your coffee, you drink your cup of coffee. Your day doesn't properly start until you have that coffee. Back in the day, I used to supplement breakfast as a triple shot, vanilla latte with maybe an extra shot thrown in there because it had been a long week or been a long weekend. And if you're looking for someone to come to Health Tips to, it's me. No, don't do that. But I gave up coffee. I stopped drinking coffee, and it was kind of a big thing for me because everyone around me drinks coffee. And when you don't drink coffee, you stand out. And especially if you refuse, you look like a total weirdo who doesn't love coffee. And I'm not here to say that I don't like coffee. I love coffee. I think it tastes delicious. It served me so well. It's so nice to hold a warm cup of coffee. And if you ask me, do you miss it? Every day, but it just wasn't working for me. It wasn't working for me anymore. It was a relationship that I had, me and my coffee, that wasn't working. It didn't make me feel good. It was giving me a lot of anxiety later in the day, I noticed. And I take on mornings more tired, for sure. But I also let go of all the negative side effects of that relationship that I had with it. And it was just a habit that I needed to let go. Even though I miss it, even though it sometimes excludes me from other people that I'm with, I had to let it go. And why am I bringing this up? Why am I talking about coffee to you? Why would you care about what I drink in the morning? I'm bringing it up because I think that just like I had my habit of coffee drinking that just wasn't working for me anymore, I want to propose that you and I aren't all that different, and that maybe you have a habit that just isn't working for you anymore, that you're pretending is working for you, that you have not dropped, that you're still keeping up. And I want to invite you, especially in the new year, not as like a New Year's resolution sort of thing, but just as like a life change, to look at different habits you have in your life. And if they're working for you, girl, keep them up. But if they're not working for you, why are you still holding on? Let me bring up a couple of examples. Let's say we just spent a whole bunch of time with family, and that is so sweet. We're very lucky to have family in our life. But maybe you were also reminded of all the generational sin that runs in your family, all the issues and all the things that maybe you say to yourself, I'm next for sure, or there's very little chance that I won't be next. That these things that have, my relatives, my grandparents, my parents, my aunts, my uncles, whatever have you, my older brother, my older sister, that they struggle with, I'm going to struggle with them too. And that is a habit of fear and doubt that is not serving you. And I can tell you that without personally knowing you, that is a habit that it is okay to totally let go of. Let's bring it to dating. Maybe with every first date, you classic hyperanalyze. Everything you said, everything he said, everything that happened. And if you hyperanalyze enough, and if you look for something wrong hard enough, you're gonna find it. It's gonna come up, it's gonna morph because you've been hyperanalyzing it. And maybe that is something that you recognize that you do. Within, the first 3 or 4 dates, you totally start to hyperfixate and hyperanalyze, and then the relationship ends. And that is a poor relationship with your mental self, not your mental health, your mental self, where you have a tendency to do something against yourself, to work against yourself. That is a habit that I think you could let go of, that I think you could drop, that you may miss it because it's something you hold near and dear and it's something you lean on to, but that it's also much better for you in the end to just drop. On the flip side, maybe you keep saying no to every single inquiry for a first date with someone, and maybe you know why you say no, and that is okay. But maybe you also don't. or you pick up these little things and you nitpick these little things, and we can have a tendency to do that. We can have this tendency to see these little things and go, oof, that's such a red flag and I am out of the way. When really maybe it's just something you need to learn more about or you don't know the full picture of. You know, I don't want to discount having red flags versus flaws. That is something I've talked about so much. And if you haven't read the content that I've created about that, please go check those out. But when it comes to something being a flaw, when it's actually just a red flag, maybe that's something that you can work on developing with your relationship with yourself. That you can say, this is a bad habit that I have, and I've been holding on to it for a really long time, but it's just not serving me right now. And it hasn't been for a while, and I'm over that. So I'm going to drop it. Or maybe you're talking to someone right now who you still don't know how he feels about you, who you're still waiting to text you back. I want to encourage you to let him go. You don't have time for habits that don't serve you. You don't have time for doing things that just bring you down, that just create more fear and more doubt and more stress on yourself for things that are outside of your control. That maybe you have caffeine that you need to give up, or holding on to something that isn't there. Maybe it's something as simple as, I just need to give people more chances because not giving people chances is just not working out for me. Or maybe you need to look at the way that you view your body and how you talk to your body and how you dress your body and how you treat your body. And if you can say to yourself that, you know, I'm totally cool. I talk to myself in a way that if a girlfriend talked to herself that way, I would be totally approving, then you're in the clear. But maybe you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, you know, if my friend said to herself the things that I say to myself, I would slap her on the hand, or I would just tell her to shut up. Like, how dare you talk to yourself like that? If you're that second group of people, maybe that's a habit that you focus on just relinquishing. I think we tend to white knuckle sometimes around things that do mean a lot to us, but don't carry the weight that they should. They carry far, far, far too much weight. And I think we need to lessen that, especially as we go into the new year, especially as we enter into a whole new year of opportunity. I mean, there are, 365 days in 2023 where anything can happen. And I know that that sounds so lame and so cliche, but it's absolutely true. And the best way to attract the person of your dreams is to become the person of your dreams. The best way to attract someone that you really, really, really want to date and really want to be with, spend the rest of your life with, is to become the person that they would also want to be with, that you would want to be with. And so it's just one step at a time, and little habits like giving up coffee or giving people another chance or not cutting people off before you know the full story. It's these little things that can really catch up to us because they're sneaky and fickle and in our way. Let's shed that. Let's let that go. And with that, I will see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and make sure to leave me a comment down below on one thing you're going to give up in this year. One habit that you have identified, you've held on to, was really nice. Maybe you'll miss a ton, but it just isn't serving you anymore. And for that reason, you're going to let it go.